Hey, rock stars, Kelly here, and today I want to chat about one of our amazing sponsors, At Work Office Furniture. If you're an entrepreneur looking to upgrade your workspace, At Work Office Furniture is your go-to partner. For over 40 years, they've been providing premium, affordable office furniture and top-notch design services. Whether you need a single desk or a complete office overhaul, At Work has you covered. Their team of experts help you plan your space to maximize both comfort and efficiency. They're at the forefront of modern office trends, including those super cool office pods that give you an instant, quiet booth enclosure right in your open space, and movement-based setups to keep your team healthy and active. Here's the best part. At Work delivers and professionally installs across North America. No matter where you are, they'll make sure that your new office furniture arrives quickly and safely. I personally use an office chair and adjustable desk from At Work on a daily basis for my work and absolutely love them. Support the business that supports entrepreneurs like you. Check out www.atwork.ca to see their amazing range of products and services. Transform your workspace with At Work Office Furniture because great business starts with a great office. Thank you, At Work, for your support of the Business Development Podcast. Thanks for listening to a word from our sponsor. Let's get back to the show. Welcome to episode 146 of the Business Development Podcast. And today we're joined by Randy Lennon. From co-founding the Spruce Grove Examiner at 19, experiencing a stint in law enforcement, to working with the Calgary Flames and founding a successful media company, Randy has spent 6 remarkable decades in the media industry. Stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss this episode.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Welcome to episode 146 of the Business Development Podcast. And on today's expert guest interview, we bring you Randy Lennon. Randy's career embodies a remarkable journey marked by entrepreneurial flair and versatile leadership across diverse industries. From co-founding the Spruce Grove Examiner newspaper at a mere 19 years old, to expanding his venture into media, publishing, sports management, and beyond, Randy's trajectory reflects a constant drive for innovation and success. Under Randy's guidance, the Spruce Grove Examiner burgeoned into a thriving chain of newspapers, solidifying its position as a trusted news source in the Edmonton market. His astute business acumen wasn't confined to media. Randy spent 16 months as an executive with the Calgary Flames. During this time, the team went from 7 years out of the playoffs to Western Conference champions and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. On the business side, the team transitioned from heavy losses to significant profitability over that 16-month period. Beyond his professional achievements, Randy's role as a sought-after business advisor and mentor, coupled with his innovative workshops and acclaimed radio show series, reflects his commitment to sharing knowledge and empowering aspiring entrepreneurs and leaders. Randy Lennon's legacy transcends borders, resonating globally as a beacon of inspiration and excellence in both business and community impact. Randy, it's an honor to have you on the show today.
Wow. I was going to congratulate you on 146 episodes first, Kelly, but that takes the cake for the best intro I've ever had. I'll take credit for the Examiner, which I believe they still have the Edmonton Examiner going in Edmonton. I'm very proud of that because I was only 19 at the time. I'd like to say it was because of my vision and business acumen. It really was just, there's the late Terry Clements, who was from Barrhead, Alberta, and he owned the Barrhead Leader. And I was publishing, it started from me in high school publishing a community newspaper called The Colloquium. If you can imagine what terrible branding that is, like what the hell is a colloquium? You can look it up now though, Kelly.
Awesome. I was gonna let you define it for us.
It's actually a pretty appropriate name. But anyway, in high school, I was doing all this crazy stuff. When I look back, Emmy Lazert High School in North Edmonton there, back in the day, like in the early 70s, they had some innovative educational ideas. They had these open classrooms. You could create your own curriculum. It was community-oriented education. And man, did it ever work for me, because I spent my grade 10, 11, 12 publishing a newspaper, running a radio station in the school, managing a recording artist, putting on shows, and a lot of the things that I ended up doing in real, quote unquote, real life later. Never went to university. So I landed an opportunity to produce what essentially was a community newspaper for 3 shopping centers in Edmonton, if you can believe that. There is a company called Abbey Glen Property Corporation that owned these 3 shopping centers. And instead of just publishing a flyer, which they were doing, they noticed that I was doing this sort of community newspaper. So we combined the two, and at age like 18, or I think I was 18, I was suddenly working for Abbey Glen Property Corporation as their publications manager.
Wow.
And publishing these 3 monthly papers, like selling the advertising, writing stories about the community. It was great. And I met this guy, Terry Clements. He had a company called West Web Press, and he had, come from Barrhead, and he started printing other weekly newspapers, set up this web printing operation in Edmonton. And, he noticed what I was doing, and he said, "Hey, I need an editor for the Barrhead Leader." So I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds cool." So I got on my motorcycle with my girlfriend at the time, and we rode up to Barrhead, took a look around, and I thought, gee, I don't really want to live in Barrhead, And, but it was quite an opportunity for, at that time, 18-year-old to be the editor of the Barrhead Leader, a weekly newspaper. And I've never been much for diplomacy, but somehow I knew it wouldn't be quite right to say to Terry, who grew up in Barrhead, I don't like Barrhead. I don't want to move there. So instead I said, "Thank you so much, Terry. It's really not for me, and I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing." And he was shocked because, it was such a great opportunity. Now, today I call myself a lifelong entrepreneur. I mean, we didn't even use the word entrepreneur in the early 70s. Sure. And I didn't know I was one. My dad worked on the railroad. He was a union man. And we had like a sort of middle-class Beaver Cleaver type family. You can look up Beaver Cleaver, by the way. And so I didn't know anything about, I didn't have a career path. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a cop. I actually applied with the Edmonton Police, and my eyesight wasn't good enough. So that was the end of that idea, right?
Wow.
So anyway, Terry contacts me about 3 or 4 months later. He says, "Look, the Spruce Grove Examiner, which is this fledgling little paper that was being printed, they hadn't paid their printing bill. They were going out of business." And he said, "Would you like to partner with me, and we'll buy the Spruce Grove Examiner?" And I'm like, okay, but I didn't even know what that meant. Now, the irony, Kelly, is if he would have called me up and said, "Hey, we'd like to hire you to be the editor of the Spruce Grove Examiner," I would have said yes, because I could still live in Edmonton, right? Yeah. And but he thought I was negotiating with him by saying, "No, I'm not interested in Barrhead." So that led to my whole entrepreneurial career out of the blue. I said to him, "This is really interesting." I said, "Well, okay, what do you mean partner?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to take it over, and we're going to put a valuation of it of $10,000. So if you want to be my 50-50 partner, you come up with $5,000 and away we go. And I'm going, I don't have $5,000. So he said, I said, well, okay. So I put in the 5,000 and we're 50. He says, yes, we'll form a new company and we'll both own it and we'll own the Spruce Grove Examiner. I go, okay, it sounded good to me. I said, well, do I still get paid?
Yeah.
I don't even know how it works. He said, well, what are you making now? And I said, well, I'm making like $800 a month. He said, okay, well, yeah, you put in the 5,000, we'll start the company. We'll pay you $1,000 a month out of the company. And that's how it'll work. And I didn't understand anything about the potential upside or really anything about business at all. Okay. So I said to him, how about $1,200 a month and a car allowance? He starts laughing like, a car allowance? What are you talking about? I said, well, the only way I'm going to come up with the 5,000 is to sell my car. So I'll need a car. And he just laughed and said, okay, it's a deal. Well, off we went. And that I learned so much so quickly from him. And he was really a mentor. Now, Kelly, think about this for a second. The late Terry Clements was my mentor. He was 35 years old.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how it all started. And we grew it. And the irony is, of course, at age 22, we started the West Edmonton Examiner, the North Edmonton Examiner, the Commerce News. We were making money, and I was like thinking, wow, this is cool. But I still wanted to be a cop. And part of me writing all the stories and selling all the ads of the Spruce Grove Examiner, I came to learn about this municipal police force called the County of Parkland Police back in the day. And I did a story about them, and I went on a ride along, and it was so fun. And they had this auxiliary program, so you could go through a little bit of training, get a uniform, and be the second person in the car, no gun.
Yeah.
And so it was like a volunteer. It's like being a volunteer fireman or something, right? Oh well, not quite, because a lot of these volunteer fire departments are manned fully by volunteers. These were all professionals, and they had an auxiliary second man in the car, basically. And I started enjoying the time out riding around the police car more than running the company. And so I thought, well, I can always get into business again. I want to go do this. So I went to the chief and asked him if I could, if there was an opening. I said, could I apply? And he looked at me like, what? Like, you're the publisher of the newspaper. You have these newspapers in Edmonton. Like, he thought of me more as a peer.
Yeah.
And he thought, well, yeah, you could apply and we could put you through the Edmonton police training, although they normally just hired ex-police officers because they didn't have a training program. He said, well, yeah, we'll take you if you want to, but why would you? And I said, I don't know. I just want to be a cop.
Yeah,
so
that was your passion.
My partner, Terry, just about killed me. He was like, you are off your rocker, dude. And he was right. Like, he ended up buying me out for next to nothing. He continued to build it up. It sold to Quebec Corps about 3 or 4 years later for a lot of money. And, so it was a bad business decision. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed my 6 years with the county police, and I had so much free time. I started my own television production company, and I started a recording artist management company, and then sort of went on from there.
Oh my God.
So it's a crazy. When I look back on it now, it's a crazy story.
It is, but it's an amazing story, and I think so much of I get that, because I think most people have passions long before they end up in whatever they're going to end up in. And at least you got to pursue yours. I think there's so many people who never get that chance. They end up in the working world and the passion kind of goes out the window, or they find new passion, which is what happened to me. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pilot. Same thing, just couldn't do it. And but at the same time, it's there's still a big part of me that would love to, at some point, figure out a way to do my pilot school again, right? And I think for you, if you wouldn't have had the chance to go and do the policing I don't think you would have ended up the man you are today. I think it is a integral stepping stone to who you became.
Yeah. And it was, I was married. My wife, she thought I was crazy, but, everybody just sort of went along with it. And of course, I kind of knew I wouldn't be a policeman my whole life unless I could be the chief of police,
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I quickly got relatively bored with the police stuff too. So I had all this other stuff happening. The thing that I had, Kelly, that I think very few people do have is I had this, it's like a gene or something. I never doubted myself. Like, it's a very strange thing that still exists to this day. I had so little or zero self-doubt. And that really served me well in a lot of ways. And on the other hand, it was to a fault. I mean, I was overconfident to the point of arrogance. And, I in my 20s, like if you met me in my 20s, Kelly, you might not like me. I was a guy whose poop didn't stink kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to be humbled, and that humbling process started in my early 30s, and it's continued ever since.
Yeah.
So some people, that's why when we do the questions experience now, which is, we can get into that a little bit if you want at some point. I've been relatively successful in coaching or helping other people, because most people, their challenge is they get in their own way with their own doubts and their own lack of self-worth or self-esteem. Now, I had it in ways that I didn't recognize, but a very good thing for an entrepreneur or for a salesperson or a business development person is to have kind of blind confidence in yourself. I like to say that I didn't know that it couldn't be done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very powerful way to approach life. Now, most people are the opposite. So I'm able to help people sort of get past what stops them, and to identify what stops them, which is just their own, they're getting in their own way.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of what people think of them. They're afraid of failure.
Yes.
And I learned, and I'm at peace. I have a relatively peaceful life today because of all the things I failed at, including 2 marriages, including being a dad. I've been a failure in so many ways, and that's where I learned. And that's what makes me the man I am today. So, I can look in the mirror and I accept all my, in the 12-step program, they have step 4 is make I forget the exact words. Make a moral inventory of yourself. Mm. And I suggest that everybody would do that. Write down all the things that they've screwed up or that are flaws in their personality. And by doing that, you can accept yourself, forgive yourself, and move on.
Yeah. Would you say that failure is just a necessary part, though, and that everybody in entrepreneurship has to overcome failure to be successful or to learn those lessons? It's just part of the journey.
Well, I would say yes, but not just entrepreneurship, life. Mm. Okay, any type of life. And if you want to, whatever it is you're wanting to achieve, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a civil servant or you're working for a company, you're a nurse. I mean, in order to move forward, you must embrace failure.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's the old thing. If you don't try, there's one way to avoid having any failures, and that's to do nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of, it's broadly stated. I know in my own life, even, in my book, The Dirty Words, I put forward a concept that it doesn't matter what happens. Okay? Then I take it another step and I say, as a matter of fact, it never matters what happens. It only matters what you make it mean and how you choose to respond. Now, you might say, well, of course it matters what happens, especially bad things, like challenges that pop up, or like the worst thing ever, someone close to you dies, like horrible things happen. The point is that at the point they happened, they now are in the past. And it's no longer, it probably wasn't in your control in the first place, but it certainly isn't within your control once something has occurred, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that's why I say it doesn't matter what happens. It only matters what you make it mean and how you choose to respond. That is a sane way of living your life. Insanity is to be constantly looking at what's happening and being upset about it, or feeling badly about it. And because if no matter what happens, moment by moment, day by day, week by week, challenges, whatever, if it's already happened, it's in the past. So it's only about how you're going to interpret it, what you're going to make it mean, and how you're going to respond. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that counts. That's the only thing that's important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think so many entrepreneurs, we're so in our own heads about, we got to control as much of everything as we can. And so we're a bit of control freaks on a certain level, right? And it's that control freak of being like, you know what, I can make this difference. I can make this happen. I can do this. Like you said, that like unbridled enthusiasm is what drives us, but it also hurts us. Just like you said, something will happen and we'll be like, but we could have done it. We could have made it different. And what you're saying is just accept it. It's the meaning we're giving it. It's because we're not okay with what happened that it's causing us so much pain.
Yeah, and it causes us to give up because something unforeseen that we didn't expect happens, and we have this illusion of control. Mm-hmm. Now, on the other hand, like I'm saying, go for it. I would have never done most of what I would call my accomplishments. I would have never achieved if I didn't just blindly go forward and somehow think I could control events. So, however, when things didn't go the way I expected, we can take any example you want where something goes wrong. Okay, wrong, like with quotations. If it's already happened, the best thing to do is look at it like, what do you make it mean? Do you make it mean that you screwed up, or that life is conspiring against you, or this person is against you? What are you going to make it mean? Whatever happens, good or bad, but particularly bad, it's like, well, okay, it's happened. Well, how am I going to choose to frame it? What am I going to see? Am I going to see that I'm screwed now and I got, it's time to quit? I never should have gone down this road, blah, blah, blah. Or what's the good in it? What's the potential? What can I learn from it? Or how can I adjust? Or, is there something for me to learn here? Could it be that I'm in the wrong business?
Yeah.
And it's whatever happens is an opportunity.
There's not many people that I've had on my show that have had your experience, Randy, that have spent literally their entire adult life as entrepreneurs. At this point, almost 6 decades in business or of some level. How the heck?
I'm in my 6th decade.
6th decade.
That's what we put on the Lennon Media site, which we had to do a timeline, and you can click on the different parts. He was doing this, then he did this, then he.
Wow.
It's like it's so fun to look back on it. And it's, it's experience. Was it all successful? Not at all. Like, I mean, if you go on my LinkedIn profile, you'd probably think I'm a billionaire, like all these fantastic things. And I could create, and it's everything on the LinkedIn profile is exactly true. However, I could create another version of a LinkedIn profile, which would all be true. And it would show a person who's completely failed in so many ways. And you'd probably read the profile and you go, not only do I not want this guy on my podcast, I don't even want to meet him.
Yeah.
Like I could lay out all the negative aspects of my life. So that's just me framing and deciding how to interpret what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like I said, anybody could look at your work history and see somebody who is incredibly accomplished, incredibly successful. Honestly, it's an honor to be chatting with you today, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for saying that, Kelly. And, I know the reality. I'm a big screw up on many levels. Okay. And so accomplishments, yeah, I've laid them out there. I'm proud of the impact I had working with Preston Manning in Ottawa. I'm proud of the fact that there's a weekly newspaper in Edmonton that has employed people all these years and people enjoyed reading it. I'm proud of, doing the crazy Midnight with Randy Lennon show on cable television, in the 80s, because people got a lot of laughs out of it. And I'm proud of it all. And you could call them accomplishments. That's a decision you're making. You're deciding, okay, that's an accomplishment. And I'm not proud of how I managed my own personal life, how I lied, to my wife and cheated on her, and how I conducted myself in business at times, how my ego got completely out of control. And, it's how you want to interpret it. And, maybe if you're interviewing the Randy Lennon who's going to share, how he screwed up, maybe that would be better for your listeners or your viewers. They might get more out of that.
I think there's lessons on both sides, and there's no success without some type of struggle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's not alone. I've had lots of conversations with people who say the exact same thing as you. And obviously, one of the problems we all struggle with as entrepreneurs is work-life balance. We all suck horribly at it for the most part, right? It's not easy. In your experience, it sounds like you've come to a bit of an epiphany about work-life balance. Can you speak to work-life balance and how you were maybe able to accomplish that at some point?
Yeah, I actually met with, had a beautiful breakfast with someone who I would say is truly accomplished in life. Her name is Ellen Langer, Dr. Ellen Langer. She's the mother of the mindful movement. She's been a Harvard professor since the 70s. She's the first female tenured Harvard professor. She's written 15 books. And I think it was with her, or maybe it was on a podcast I was watching with her, this whole idea of work-life balance came up. And it's kind of the same to me as mind, body, the mind, body, soul, the connection.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such a thing as work-life balance, or that your personal life and your work life are two separate things, and that there has to be some kind of a Chinese wall or something there. We do the questions experience workshop for corporations, and in the workshop, people answer the questions for themselves, and it's very personal. Some of the questions are very powerful. What's the one thing that consistently holds you back in life? So they're in a workplace setting. And when we do the coaching, if they volunteer for the coaching, it gets very personal very quickly. People are in tears when they start to realize what really does stop them and why, and so on and so forth. that's in a work setting. So a lot of companies and a lot of managers and CEOs or HR people go, oh, we can't have that. We can't have that at work. And it's crazy because there is no Chinese wall between your home life and your work life in a corporation, and certainly not as an entrepreneur. It's all intertwined.
Yeah.
So how do you create balance? Well, I would say that I was a workaholic. In other words, I put what I was doing in work, what we would call work in my businesses, I always seemed to have that ahead of my family priorities. And I was doing that unconsciously. I wasn't aware of it, really. My wife would be saying to me, hey, put the phone down. I was doing it before we had, smartphones, but I was still always wanting to take a call if it came in. And today, I don't know how anybody, you literally have to shut the phone off.
It's pretty hard
to be present with your family. Okay. So work-life balance, it's like, it's all integrated, and it's a matter of setting priorities. And I did not prioritize my time and my focus and my attention on my loved ones, on my immediate family as I could have.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying as I should have, because it's happened. It's in the past. Because of that, I learned, the hard way by, getting divorced twice and putting my kids, I have 3 boys. One of them came through it quite well. The other 2 have. But, one of them still doesn't talk to me for the last 10 years.
I'm sorry.
Like that's a lot of damage and a lot of pain that was, that came out of all this quote unquote success that you see in my bio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if he happened to watch this, he'd probably say, my dad's full of shit, and he's right. Like, from his perspective, I wasn't there for him in the way he needed me to be there. So
I think so many entrepreneurs, and like me included, I've been guilty for those things. I've been guilty for working my ass off and working late nights and honestly just trying to just do what I think is important in that moment. When the family's there and I need to be spending time there, I've struggled with it. I'll be the first to say I struggle. Many entrepreneurs I've talked to struggle on that standpoint. And I think one of the things that we try to tell ourselves is it's just temporary, right? Like right now we got the momentum, we're working hard, we're doing everything we need to do, we're grinding, it'll end. And in all fairness, on the other side of this, Randy, I've talked to lots of entrepreneurs who did that and it did end. They did eventually. But I'll tell you what, almost all of them have that divorce story.
Exactly. And my wife today is a beneficiary of everything I learned the hard way. So I'm very present with her. I'm much more present with her kids than I was with my own kids. So, like, if there's something to share, it's a couple of things. Number one is, I myself always said that, hey, listen, it's just, I got to get through this. And once we close this deal, or once this happens, it was always the famous Coyotes deal. I worked on the Phoenix Coyotes deal for years and made no money while I was doing it. It was all on spec. And, I was always telling my kids, when the Coyotes deal closes, then we're going to take this holiday, or then I tell my wife, I have to spend this time on it because I got too much invested in it.
Yeah.
You know what? When the Coyotes deal closed, we were already separated. So, this money came in finally, and it was like, so it's really, we don't really have, there is no future, right? I mean, we only have now. I love I heard this first from Dr. Wayne Dyer. I don't know who came up with it, maybe him or someone before, but the past is history. The future is a mystery. Right now is all we have. It's a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Yeah.
It's a gift. Okay. So when we have an opportunity, I'll say to you, okay, regardless of what's going on and what you're working on, or I'll say to any entrepreneur who is stressed out building, or maybe they're not stressed out, they're just loving it. Okay, they're pursuing what they're pursuing, and they have a family. Okay, especially kids. When they have an opportunity to be present in the present, which is a present, grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Put the whatever you're doing, put it aside if your child is right in front of you. And I'm talking about toddler all the way up to a young adult child. When I did meet with my son, one of my sons who he sort of put me out of his life for like 5 years. When I finally did get the opportunity to sit down with him, I made myself a promise. I met him in a restaurant, and I promised myself that phone is off.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to be 100% with him. And it's going to be all about him. I'm going to be there, and it worked. It was amazing. Like, I hadn't seen him for a long time. And we ended up, we had lunch, and we ended up spending 6 hours together, and he told me all kinds of stuff. And, he didn't ask me really any questions about me or what was going on in my life, which was fine. I mean, that's, so when you have an opportunity to be with your wife, with your spouse, your significant other, your child, your parents, your siblings, when an opportunity presents itself to be present, it is a present. No one on their deathbed says, "Oh, I wish I would have spent more time on my business," or "I wish I would have spent more time at the office." What do they say, Kelly? What do people say on their deathbed?
I wish I would have spent more time with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. It, like, on all levels, it makes sense. And I know I have lots of entrepreneurs who are saying the same thing. It's like, yeah, we get it. We want to spend more time with our families, but we're not successful yet.
Okay. So you said, let me cut you off right there. So you used a dirty word, which I want to touch on, because I do recommend everybody pick up my book, The Dirty Words book. One of the dirty words is but. Okay. So you said, I get it, but what did you say? But what?
But
what?
I haven't achieved the level of success I want yet.
Right. Okay. So first of all, don't ever say the word but. Use the word and. Because as soon as you say but, you're completely negating what you just said. No one says, I'll take this man to be my lawfully wedded husband, but. Right? It's like, you could say, I take this man to be my lawfully wedded husband, and, we have a prenup agreement.
Yeah.
It's okay. And is fine. You can always substitute and for but. However, let's look at what you're saying. And you're not successful yet. Mm-hmm. Meaning what exactly?
See, I think what it is that everyone has it in their mind that a success comes with a certain bank account, a certain level of success in your business, a certain point in life where, I don't know, maybe it's imaginary, but you're going to feel it. Like, I think we're all searching for this feeling of I made it. And I know I'm not alone in this. And I know there's tons of entrepreneurs who I've talked to who feel the same way. And it's like, I'll know when I know. But is it just a moving target from someone like you?
It absolutely is. My experience is I made it several times, and it was always hollow. Like, I mean, it felt great. I mean, when the Coyotes deal finally closed and the money went into the account, I was like, woohoo. But it was like, okay, now I've got to, what do I do now? It's like, so it's a cliche, okay? And it's exactly what to be aware of and how to live your life. Okay. Life is a journey. It's not a destination. So right now, I'll share with you. I never made it as such. Mm-hmm. Yet you look at my life and you say, wow, I'm honored to have you on the show, blah, blah, blah. I never made it. Mm-hmm. Still haven't. And guess what, Kelly? if I quote unquote made it, what would I do then? Spend time with my family? You know,
I guess.
I,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I know. And I think that that's the entrepreneur problem. I think we don't know what the hell to do with ourselves.
Exactly. So my advice is take the opportunity. Remember, think of the present, as a gift. Okay. Take the opportunity. Do you have kids,
I do.
Kelly?
Yep. 4.
Okay. Yeah. So any opportunity that pops up, hey, take 2 minutes and just be 100% there. Your kids don't need you all day long. I mean, as a matter of fact, they need to get out on their own and make their own things happen and, develop into their own people.
Yeah.
However, you can tell if you just raise your consciousness a bit. Okay, I'm not talking about starting to meditate and all that. Just be a little more mindful around your kids and notice when they seem to want to connect with you, and bam, take that opportunity for a minute or for an hour or whatever, or just, grab an opportunity and sit down at their level and just look at them in the eye and don't say anything. See what happens.
Yeah.
You do have time for that, Kelly.
Yeah. Even
though you don't have $1 million in your bank account, or maybe you have, all your credit cards maxed out and you don't know how you're going to pay the bills, on the 15th. I've been there so many times. And as a matter of fact, one of the worst times in my life where I was really struggling, my kids were quite little, and I was able to take time with them because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So if you have, those opportunities present themselves. Same with your wife, same with your mother, same with whoever, same with your friends, our work-life balance, even people we're working with in our business, like that's their work associates, like take a moment and go look them in the eye and say, hey, how are you really?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. Like 6 decades, in media. What are some of the takeaways that you've gotten from that? Obviously you've learned a lot of lessons in that time. You've had a ton of employees. What makes a good leader?
Well, there's I don't remember who the quote is from. This is what I always think of when I'm asked about leadership. When the best leaders' work is done, the people say we did it ourselves. So leadership is, I'm proud to put on my LinkedIn profile that I see more in people than they see in themselves.
Yes.
And so a leader is always looking, just like we say, something happens, what do we decide to make it mean? When I look at a person, I'm looking for what is wonderful about them and what their potential is. And seeing the best in the people you're working with and reinforcing that is, I think, true leadership.
Yeah. And I think things have taken a change, I want to say, since COVID. I think a lot of companies are taking another look at how do we do better with our people? How can we treat them better? How can we look after them? How can we work on their schedules? I think there's a lot more of an understanding shift happening. What is your takeaway in that time? What was COVID like for you?
Well, it was, it was great for me. It was awful on many respects, and I choose to see what was great about it. I finished my book, published my book, took another run at the questions experience, which I believe is everything I've done has been my passion. The questions experience is, I believe, a calling, which is another level for me. That's my own interpretation of it. So, however, let's look at what you just said. COVID has companies maybe taking a closer look at their people, right? Well, their any company or organization, that's all it is. It's the people, right? And interestingly enough, in the next couple of years here or later this year or sometime, so much of what people do for work is going to be eliminated by AI. It already is happening. So we get to, and I'm an optimist, right? I mean, they said that video was going to kill the radio star, and they said that, beta and VHS tapes were going to shut down the movie theaters and all kinds of other examples of that.
Yeah.
And, in some cases it's true, like there are no more Blockbuster stores because things, digital changed it. And there's a lot of possibility for, quote unquote evil to take over AI and destroy the world and all the rest of it. I'm an optimist. I believe that when we, as AI starts to really take hold, like COVID was just the first taste of it. It's going to be a complete change.
Yeah.
So if you went through COVID and you look back now and interpret what was good about it for you, get ready to start looking for what's good about AI for you.
Yeah. Well, my company started in COVID. I'm not sure that I would have done it without the big kick in the ass that I got to do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me and a lot of younger entrepreneurs, it was a kick to get going. I know a lot of companies that started. I've had a lot of people on the show who started in COVID who wouldn't have done it without COVID. And so on some level, I owe where I'm at today to COVID, although still not a big fan of what happened, but owe my company to it.
No, well, in retrospect, it was mishandled terribly. And we all went along with it in the early stages there because we didn't know. No one knew. And I give, I'm not so hard on our leaders. I'm not exactly a big fan of our prime minister on many levels. And of course, he and no one really knew what to do. Sure. So hopefully we've learned from it and we'll handle it differently. And there's going to be a lot of that with AI.
Yeah.
It's like there's going to be mistakes made and, we'll see what happens. I think that the type of introspection that was forced on us by suddenly being alone in our homes is the type of introspection that's going to be forced on a lot of people in the next year or so when they suddenly lose their job or things are changing, at a rapidly, an exponential pace.
Yeah.
So, people are going to find themselves lost.
Yes.
Especially if they identify with what they do.
Yeah. If
they think that what they do is who they are. So we're supposed to have been in the middle of a spiritual awakening since like the 70s. It was the dawn of the age of Aquarius. There's a song and I think it's going to accelerate very quickly. That's why I'm excited about putting on the Questions Experience, because it's an opportunity for a day to stop, have some fun talking about dirty words, and then answering these incredibly powerful yet simple 8 questions for yourself, and then sitting in a group of people and taking turns being coached on your answers. It's a great opportunity for self-awareness and introspection.
How did you end up starting the Questions Experience? Take us back to the beginning.
It started because one of my businesses in like 1997, the fall of 1997, I had an internet company and television company combined. And, it's an awful story what happened. But I had nefarious partners / investors who I have forgiven, by the way. They basically screwed me over, and I was all of a sudden, my own company was forced into bankruptcy, and at a point where I thought I was going to become a .com billionaire. Like, I owned a company that did one of the first internet television the first in Canada.
Wow.
Internet television broadcasts, except I didn't know enough about business and about capital raising. And it's one of the reasons I went into the capital raising business later, to learn about the finance side. Anyway, I suddenly, with a new baby, was out on my ass, so to speak, literally and figuratively. And I had so that was 1998, in the spring of 1998. Let me think. Yeah, 1997, 1998, somewhere in there. I had done a lot of personal development. There's a company called Landmark Education that still exists today that did a thing called the communication course and the forum. And these are weekend retreat type, transformational type of workshops. So I had done a lot of those in the early 90s. And when I suddenly was without a business and with no opportunity as such, I thought, well, I better, take, even at that point, my vast experience and create my own workshop, basically. So I created a weekend retreat type thing, which was kind of similar to what Landmark was doing. And I needed 10 people to make it work. And I had 4 people signed up. And it was the week before the workshop, the weekend retreat. And I thought, I should send them a questionnaire, the 4 people that had signed up, and ask them a few questions to kind of get a feel for where they're at, so that I can make the workshop more powerful for them individually, like understand about them. So I sat down with a pen and I wrote down these 8 questions, one after the other. And then I put them into a document. And I don't know how it worked back then. I think we had email. Anyway, I sent it to them and I said, hey, answer these questions, send them back to me, and then we'll get on the phone and talk about it. And that is essentially where the questions experience started, because it turns out we never even did the weekend workshop. But those 4 people, I did what essentially was a coaching session. Yep. I didn't even understand the term coaching at that time. By talking to them about their answers to these powerful questions. And, man, they all were like, there were tears flowing and things happening. And I realized, wow, there's something powerful about these questions. And that was the start of it. And it's just developed over the years. So I do it as a one-on-one coaching thing. I've probably done it with hundreds of people one-on-one. And then I started doing workshops with it. And we, in 2005, we actually did some public workshops. And then we did it again in 2016, 17. And it was always something off the corner of my desk. Yeah. It wasn't my real business. Yeah. So passion, it was just something. And most of the time, most of the people that had done the questions with me, I didn't charge them, right? It was just, and so with COVID, I decided to finish the book, which is the questions experience is this. First part of it is just exploring these dirty words: have to, should, try, but, can't, hope, wish. These are dirty, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that we can create that are words that we can eliminate from our vocabulary. Like if you stop saying but and always substitute and, it can make a huge difference. I'll tell you one quick example, okay? So I'm driving to my kids' hockey practice or game. I forget which. My phone rings. This is like 20 years ago. My phone rings and it's my buddy, and he goes, hey, we're going down to Brewster's. This is in Calgary for have a few beers. Are you coming over? And I said, oh, no, I can't. Dirty word. I wish I could. Dirty word. I have to take my son, Chris, to hockey. 3 dirty words. Okay. Now, why am I saying I can't? As if like It's out of my control. It's impossible.
Mhm.
No, I could go if I wanted to.
Mhm.
Number two, I wish I could, like, what am I doing there? I'm trying to let them down easy. I mean,
Mhm.
like I would come, but I can't. It's impossible.
Sure.
What is that? Okay. Now listen, here's my kid in the back of the car hearing that. Oh man, I can't.
Mhm.
I wish I could, but I have to take my kid to hockey.
Yeah, he's feeling guilty.
Well, it was a lie, Kelly. That was a lie.
Yeah.
It wasn't even true.
Yeah.
I could have said, hey, thanks for the offer. I'm not coming because I get to take my kid to hockey.
Sure.
I get to.
Yeah.
Now, first response, which was unconscious and full of dirty words, my son's probably sitting in the back going, oh, my dad would rather be going to drink beer with his buddies, but he has to take me to hockey,
Mhm.
which wasn't even true.
Yeah.
I was more than happy. I was just trying to somehow let them down easy. It's like when you say to your buddy, oh, sorry, I can't, or I'll try to be there, when, it's like they could take it.
Yeah.
They're fine. So that's a little example of the dirty words. So we do the dirty words workshop. We get everybody thinking about all these stupid words that we use that not only are they're disempowering, they screw up communication, because we say, well, I'll try to be there. No, we're not going to try to be there. We're not coming.
Yeah.
If someone says, I'm going to try to be there, they're just not being honest with you. And they're, for some stupid reason, trying to let you down easy. Instead, it's like, there's so much of that in our everyday language. So we explore that. Okay. And we create these words and we say, okay, now when you answer the questions, don't use any of these words. And then we move into there.
I find that so interesting. And how did you come to this conclusion about these dirty words? Because it's like, I think many people say these things all the time and don't think twice about it. What was it that changed your view on them?
I really don't know. I think like the Dirty Words book has a certain take on it, and there's all kinds of books, and this is not a new concept. I think for sure I picked some of it up from Anthony Robbins, in the early late in the early 90s there, when I actually had the chance to meet him and went to one of his big workshops. And it's nothing new. My take on it is just, instead of we're just identifying them and comparing them to swear words, right? So there's the 7 words you can't say on TV, which 6 or 7 of them you can, by the way. And I just say we are very careful with swear words. Like, we're aware of where we can say them and where we don't want to say them. Yeah. Yet a word like but or should, we're constantly shoulding all over people around us, or shoulding all over ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I should do this. No. Well, why would you say that? I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I get to do this. Or, I can't. No, I'm choosing not to do it. It's my choice. We're all at choice all the time. We're not being buffeted through life. Although it seems that way, and most of us live that way. We're just like buffeted by the winds.
Yeah. Well, they say 95% of what we do is unconscious, right? It's like, it's a very small amount that isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So just becoming, and believe me, the dirty words concept I've been working with for like, whatever it is, close to 30 years. And I still catch myself using those dirty words.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's very entrenched.
Yeah. Deep programming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Randy, talk about some of the other work that you do through Lennon Impact Media.
Well, we're doing a series of true life stories. We're doing dramatic adaptations of true life stories. So we have 5 of them on the go right now, where we're taking there's a very well-known Edmonton fellow that, and I'm not at liberty to say who it is because he hasn't decided yet whether we actually are going to make a movie or a series out of it. Yeah. And he's partnered with us because our model is a little bit different than the Hollywood model. The focus of the story, like if we wanted to tell your true life story, Kelly, if it was at a point where you thought, or there's some aspect of it that you think would make a great movie or Netflix series, you come to us, you pay us a fairly significant fee for us to engage and actually write with you the screenplay with a top Hollywood screenplay writer. And however, you retain your rights to the story, and you're the executive producer of your own. You're in control of the process.
Okay.
Basically. So that's what had protracted the people that we've got so far. And so we complete a screenplay. It's sort of like hiring someone to help you write your book and publish your book.
Yeah.
Only this is to create a story. So I would say for you or anybody listening or watching, who do you know whose story just has to be told or would make a great feature film or series? They can contact me and we can explore whether we think we agree. And if so, we can engage. So we're doing that in my Meridian business, which is for sale right now. That's an advisory firm that's over the years we've raised capital and helped companies grow and so on and so forth. And I'm ready to move on from that. So I have some younger guys that are involved. We're looking for someone to step in and take over. That's Meridian Impact Partners. And then I'm going to be focusing on that. I'm also involved in a group that's going to be doing something with an NHL team, which is confidential right now, which I'm really excited about.
I bet.
So yeah. And I live in Guadalajara, which is a perfect weather all year round, except in the summer, it gets a little hotter. So guess what? I go to Scottsdale, Arizona, where I store my motorcycle. I get on it and sometime in May, and then I scoot around Western Canada. I'll be in Calgary most of the month of May. We're doing a men's health expo on, I think it's May 9th and 10th. And we have a booth there for the questions experience. And then we're going to be doing an actual questions experience workshop. We're more focused on doing it in the corporate world. However, we're going to start doing the odd one that's open to individuals. So we're going to do one on May 25th in Calgary. And depending on how that goes and the response, maybe we'll do one in Edmonton later on in the summer.
Perfect. Where can people find more information on the questions experience?
The questions experience, it's tqexperience.com or thequestionsexperience.com. Or right now, if they go to Eventbrite, they can, that event for the 25th is there. Best thing, though, would be to contact me directly because I can send them a 50% discount link.
Perfect. Well, this show will be airing after that. But me and you can get in contact and you can let me know if you have an upcoming one after that. Let me know and I'll make sure it's in all the links.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, especially if it's in Edmonton. I think a lot of your listeners are in Edmonton.
We're across Canada at this point. So no matter where you go, you'll find somebody. Randy, it's been an absolute honor. Let me just be the first to say I grew up in Spruce Grove. So I grew up reading the Spruce Grove Examiner. It was my first experience of a newspaper as a kid. I think I got my first job through there. I think I bought my first car through there. So I just want to say that for me, it's an honor, dude. I grew up looking at your work from a young kid. And you made a huge, huge impact. You continue to, and it is an honor to have you on today.
It was really thank you for saying that. And I just tell you one story. I forget who it is now, but somebody that I was doing business with who kind of, I think I felt was kind of like more on a higher level sort of in whatever business we were doing. Someone that I looked up to. He said, yeah, I used to deliver the West Edmonton Examiner when I was a kid. He says, that was my first job.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I'm old.
No, you made a heck of an impact. And I think it's really cool that, you just still come back just to ride your motorcycle around Canada. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see you in the summer.
I hope so. I hope to connect at some point. This has been episode 146 of the Business Development Podcast. We've been graced by Randy Lennon. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.
Hey, rock stars, get ready to elevate your cleaning and restoration game with Hypervac Technologies. Originating as a humble family-run air duct cleaning service in the 1980s, this Canadian company has transformed into a global powerhouse in duct cleaning equipment. Their lineup features game changers like the Revolution 360 vacuum and the innovative Cobra View camera system, all aimed at boosting your efficiency. But here's the exciting news. Hypervac Technologies is now geared up like never before. They keep stock on all major products, including the highly sought-after Revolution portable vacuums and the H2 trucks and trailers, ensuring immediate worldwide shipping. And when they say immediate, they mean it, offering overnight freight to both the USA and Canada. What's more, everything they offer is proudly built in North America, ensuring top-notch quality. And it doesn't stop there. Hypervac Technologies is committed to improving indoor air quality because they understand that your ducts are your lungs. Their expertise extends globally with worldwide shipping available as a steadfast promise. With over 4 decades of industry excellence under their belt, Hypervac Technologies stands as your ultimate partner for reaching new heights in the cleaning and restoration business. So why wait? Head on over to their website today at www.hypervac.com and experience the difference for yourself.